Hello everyone, and welcome to the introduction video for the game Snatcher on the Sega CD. This game will not have a config and tech or a modding video. Snatcher doesn't exactly qualify for an introduction video, as there are no real sequels for this game, but there are version differences. Also, this is a game made by Konami and Hideo Kojima, so there are things to talk about. I hope you enjoy the information and that it gives you the best Snatcher experience. Any links that are covered will be in the description of the video. This game was developed by Konami. Konami is a Japanese developer that was founded in 1969 and based out of Tokyo, Japan. Konami is known for games such as Castlevania, Contra, Gradius or Gradius, Metal Gear, and Silent Hill, just to name a few. Konami was a juggernaut back in the 80s and 90s, with many of their games hailed as classics today. They had a lot of successful games in the arcade and various game consoles. I would say over time that their successes and public opinion have waned in regards to modern Konami, in the process losing their luster and competitive edge over companies such as Capcom. A loss of perspective on a changing game industry and a lack of that Konami quality in a lot of their big series releases, such as the blunder of the Silent Hill HD collection and the cancellation of Silent Hills, which was meant to be a new release. Konami at some point decided to try and separate itself from the AAA game development studio it was. They wanted to focus more on mobile games and what they call pachinko machines in Japan. They're basically like the slot machines we have over here in North American casinos. As of making this video, the new Silent Hill 2 remake will be coming out a month from now, in October of 2024. I think this game's release will be a good indicator of where Konami's head is going forward in the game industry. Keep in mind that by the time this video comes out, Silent Hill 2 remake will have already been released. I'm not a Konami historian or a hater, as I love their games just as much as the next person. Konami can always bring the company back around, as they have a lot of popular games. They just need to refocus and remember what made them successful in the past. There is no reason that Silent Hill, for example, can't be as popular once again as Resident Evil is still. Hideo Kojima is hailed as one of the rock stars of game designers in the game industry. His games have a distinct and innovative design, pushing the game industry to evolve in one way or another. Kojima's games have a lot of depth and can be quite intricate in their gameplay mechanics. Some might call those mechanics complex, while others would call them tedious. He likes to bring a movie or cinematic approach to his game design. I've always seen Kojima as a game designer who walks to the beat of his own drum. I imagine a lot of his days at Konami were spent convincing them that his ideas would work. Kojima is probably best known for his involvement with the game series Metal Gear. He also worked on the game series Zone of the Enders, and the most recent game called Death Stranding. I'm not well versed in the Metal Gear games myself, having only briefly played some of the older releases. It's just one of those game series I never really got to over the years, and there are so many sequels out now. My first real Hideo Kojima experience was playing through the first Zone of the Enders game on the PlayStation 2. Then not too long after that, I played the game I'm presenting to you now, Snatcher, on the Sega CD. Hideo Kojima started working for Konami in 1986, until their falling out in 2015, resulting in him forming his independent studio, Kojima Productions, later in 2015. As I already mentioned, Konami was restructuring and moving towards the mobile game market. Kojima's games are of the AAA flavor, and I doubt he wanted to work on mobile games. Considering that Kojima had been at Konami for over 25 years and was appointed vice president of Konami Digital Entertainment in 2011, he had real stakes in the company, and I imagine it was a combination of a lot of factors that led to him leaving Konami. General disagreements, money, power struggles, and differing ideas of the direction of the company. I did read that Kojima went over budget when working on Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I'm sure that didn't help the situation within the company. This was the final Metal Gear game that Kojima worked on for Konami. There is a lot more information about all of this on the internet if you want to deep dive into it. In most people's eyes, Konami didn't handle Kojima's departure very well. People were upset that he was being pushed out and the effect it would have on future games he created. Various games were sacrificed at the end of this partnership. Don't quote me, but I think Konami even barred Kojima from going to an awards show where he was nominated. At any rate, I think it was for the best that Kojima left and formed his own studio. I'd rather see him make the games he wants than what Konami as a whole wanted him to make. Talk a little bit about the game's influences. Snatcher has that late 80s, early 90s cyberpunk feel with a cinematic presentation. The game draws influences from movies like Akira, Blade Runner, and The Terminator. Talk about the terminology of the game. The game Snatcher was originally going to be called Junker. Junker means Japanese, undercover, neurokinetic, elimination, Rangers, Junker. In the Snatcher game, you are a junker, also called a runner, going after snatchers. This is similar to the Blade Runner movie, where you are a runner going after replicants. What are snatchers, you may ask? They are those people that take the last Reese's Pieces cup from the package, or the last pizza from the pizza box. You'll have to watch the playthrough to truly learn who and what the Snatchers are. A little about the game development. Kojima was asked by Konami to trim more than half of his initial story down for Snatcher. The PC versions took more than twice as long to develop compared to the average game of the time. Since this is on the Sega CD, there is a lot of voice acting. Konami had 7 voice actors record about 2 hours and 30 minutes of dialogue for 26 different characters in the game. This is not even mentioning all the various text that is in the game. Let's talk about the gameplay progression. Snatcher was originally going to have 5 episodes, or 5 acts as they are called, but the game was shortened to the following 3 acts. Act 1, Snatch. Act 2, Cure. And Act 3, Junk. Talk a little bit about the gameplay. Snatcher consists of dialogue, tree, conversations, and shooting segments. You can die during the shooting segments, but if you complete them, any lost health will be restored automatically. My biggest complaint about the game is the way the dialogue trees work. Sometimes you will need to ask certain questions first to get a different response from a question you've already asked, resulting in you needing to ask the same questions a few times. A lot of responses can also have variations, giving you more information if you ask the same question again. It turns into a tedious back and forth until you trigger an event or open up a new question. If you are stuck in the game or don't know what to do, make sure that you exhaust all the dialogue options you have with characters. Don't forget about your little robot partner, Metal Gear MK2. He is very helpful, and you'll come to rely on him in your investigation. There is plenty of voice acting in the game, but there is also a lot of text to read. You can expect a lot of reading in my commentary during this playthrough. I will be using save states as well as the hard saves available in the playthrough. Let's talk a little about the controls in the game. You can use a gamepad for everything in the game if you want to. There is also a gun controller that you could use for the shooting segments in tandem with the gamepad. It is called a Justifier light gun, and it came with the Sega CD game called Lethal Enforcers. I've read online that those light guns don't work well or at all with non-CRT televisions. The gun itself is affordable on eBay, but you're still going to need a CRT TV. Since this game doesn't warrant having a config and tech video, I will go over any controls and settings during the gameplay videos. Give you some information about help and resources. In the first gameplay part 1 video, I'll provide links to a walkthrough in the form of images with text. There will be 2 links for this information. The first one will take you to the original source website of the walkthrough, and the second one is a direct link to my Google Drive to a .zip file. This way you can have standalone images, and if anything happens to that site's servers, my Google Drive is a backup. I'll also be providing a link to the manual for the Sega CD version of Snatcher. It's got some really good information in it, and I recommend you looking through it if it's the first time you've played the game. Now let's talk about modern release and the best way to play Snatcher. This is one of those games that deserves a proper re-release to modern consoles and PC. It's a great game that the vast majority of people have probably never played, either because of accessibility or because of the language barrier. All versions of Snatcher are in Japanese, except the CD version. This would include the text and the voices. This game was lucky it made it out of Japan at all. You can argue different talking points regarding which version is the most complete, as far as graphics, sound, music, and overall content are concerned. However, unless you can read and understand Japanese, then you will have no idea what is going on. So that kind of restricts you to the Sega CD version. Looking on eBay right now, a CIB or complete in-box of Snatcher on Sega CD is going for $1,500 American dollars. The video game collecting market is out of control with rare games like this now. I imagine at this point, given Konami and Kojima's relationship now, there are a lot of mitigating factors as to why this game hasn't been re-released. I suppose it still could happen in the future, as Konami would stand to make a small fortune if they re-released Snatcher. I'm emulating this game for this playthrough, and any modern PC can handle this game just fine. I'm not providing the game to you, so don't ask. I'm just letting you know your options for playing the game. The genre Snatcher falls into is a cyberpunk graphic adventure. You could also call it a visual novel. How Long to Beat says this game should take 8 hours to 9 hours and 30 minutes. I would say the game will be on the longer side for my playthrough, as I plan to take my time, read all of the dialogue options, and any text that I can read in the game, I'm going to read to you guys. So let's discuss the various versions of the game now, starting with the game I'm going to be playing for you. So we have Snatcher. Actually, this is not the version I'm playing for you. We're starting back at the very original release. So we have Snatcher on PC-8801 and the PC MSX2. These are Japanese PCs. This version of the game came out in 1988 and was the original release. So these two Japanese PCs was what it was available on. Then we have Snatcher SD, called SD Snatcher. This also came out on the Japanese PC, the MSX2, and this came out in 1990. Then we have Snatcher on the PC Engine, or the TurboGrafx 16. This was a Japanese console, kind of equivalent to the Super Nintendo for American audiences. Not exactly the same, but they were both 16-bit consoles. So Snatcher on the PC Engine was a remake of the original game, and it came out in 1992. Then we come to the game that I'm playing for you here, Snatcher on the Sega CD, which is in English. And this came out in 1994. Then we have Snatcher on the PlayStation 1, and this was a Japanese release. Came out in 1996. And then we have the Snatcher Sega Saturn release, and this was also Japanese only. And this came out the same year, 1996. Now let's talk about some individual aspects of these releases. So the SD Snatcher that came out on the MSX2 Japanese PC. The SD, which stands for Super Deformed, and is done in the art style called chibi, like little anime body, big oversized head. This game turns Snatcher into an overhead viewpoint RPG role-playing game. I don't know anything about this game, but it sounds cool to me. If anybody's played it, let me know in the comments if it was any good. Then the PC Engine release version of Snatcher was meant to be a remake of the original game. It was the first time that Konami used CD technology, thus giving the game better voice, sound, and music quality, as well as all the extra storage for detailed graphics. The game included some nudity and some sexual undertones. It also has slightly more gore added to some scenes. This was later censored when released in North America on the Sega CD version. Naturally, this is a more suitable version, like it or not, for YouTube. Snatcher on the Sega CD, as already mentioned, is the version you want to play. If nothing else, just for the English translation of the voice and text. It is said that the North American English translation took around 3 months to finish. Snatcher on the Sega CD is easy to emulate on PC these days, but purists and collectors will want to play on the original hardware. The censoring of the Sega CD version doesn't make or break whether the game is good or not, in my opinion. That aside, the Sega CD version was also trying to make improvements over the previous PC Engine version in other ways. The PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn versions I'm lumping together here. They contain graphics and music that were remade for those versions. Given the systems that they are on, I would think that these versions might lose some of that retro charm of the originals. These versions sound like remakes or reimaginings, whatever way you want to phrase it. I can't speak for the differences as I've only played the Sega CD version. In the next video, we'll be getting into the gameplay. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this video. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.